welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is Reluctant Gringo here, back with part 3 of our visit to Mexico City's vintage toy market. So I hope you enjoyed part 1 and 2, and like part 2, I'm going to narrate over this because we're still on the inside paid portion where the music is really loud and copyrighted, so there's no way I'm getting that on YouTube. But here, we moved on to another booth that had a lot of really cool Black Series figures. I kind of zoned in on this one Princess Leia one because the face is so goofy. They never seem to be able to get Carrie Fisher's face right on these Black Series, but a lot of cool Star Wars retros and reissues. But like I said, really enjoyed seeing all these Black Series, a lot of different ones here. But this booth, pretty general, had a mix of everything. We had Dragon Ball Z, we had all sorts of other stuff for Star Wars, and as you can see, we had some Spawn. Always liked Spawn. We moved on to the booth next to it, which my wife found fascinating because this table looks like pop culture just sort of exploded all over the place. I don't even know where to begin with this table, so I'm just kind of hovering over it, looking at all the different figures. We see a Marvin the Martian there. We see a couple of Fozzie Bears and from the Muppets, and there's Kung Fu Panda. So a lot of different things here going on, but of course, as always, anything with figures, the Star Wars, especially the vintage, are separated, and there they are, and we're gonna take a walk up there closer in a second. See those? Oh, by the way, Rubik's Cubes, for some reason, Rubik's Cubes are a big deal down here. I see them everywhere. But here we go. Walrus Man, I actually have him still carded. There's Neem Num from Return of the Jedi. We got a few other figures there we're gonna pick up. Some of the Ewoks there are kind of cool. But these are loose figures. They are vintage. They could be cleaned up. They're in pretty good shape for what they are. There's Dengar. There's one of the bounty hunters. Doesn't get a lot of love, but I think he's still pretty cool to have as part of the collection. Lobot, always found him interesting. This guy with basically cybernetics planted into his head that Lando Calrissian can kind of control. Speaking of Lando, there he is in his disguise from Jabba's palace. Again, more Ewoks, but very cool. A lot of cool looking Star Wars stuff there. Here's this same table from a different angle. I don't know how long it takes to set this up, but these vendors must be there forever. I took a moment here to kind of catch my breath as I'd been there for a few hours, so kind of doing a little twirl around, kind of see where we're at. You can see the kind of the scope of the place of the market. And there's some locals saying hi. That was pretty cool. I got everybody there so friendly. Came across this booth here, excited to get a lot more crowded, so you're going to see a little bit more bumping. Some sort of weird Pinocchio thing. I don't know, I've never seen that, but must be some sort of reissue of Pinocchio or retelling. And I had him pick up this Flash Golden Label McFarlane just so I could see it, see what it's, see what kind of price he would give to me on it. Same price, around, I think he was giving me around 15 to 2,000 pesos. This booth was cool because I saw Silverhawks. Now, I was a big Silverhawks fan when I was a kid. Great intro to that cartoon with the guitar and everything. So if you haven't seen Silverhawks, check it out. It's a great 80s cartoon. And of course, right below it, Thundercats. So really surprised to see all these Thundercats. Didn't know if there's maybe a movie coming out or maybe they're trying to do something else. Flipped around. Here are these turtles that are sort of like the Hunchback turtles, the Dracula turtles, the Frankenstein turtles. Again, not my thing, but thought that was pretty cool. This is definitely my thing. With Halloween coming up next month, if you haven't seen all the classic horror films, you've got to watch all those classic horror films. Wrestling, not too much old wrestling. These are pretty current wrestling. I'm a big WWE fan, big pro wrestling fan in general, AEW as well. So really always like looking at the wrestling. Again, another booth with a lot of these horror icons. Again, I've fallen in love with these figures, and I know maybe they're nothing special to anybody, but I think they're awesome. Zoned in here on Elvira and the Nun. So I hadn't seen the Nun. Of course, Elvira, when I was a kid, Elvira was something we watched, and for the time, it was pretty risque. I know right now it's not very risque. Bunch of Predators up there. We're going to get to those in a second. But there's It and Trick or Treat and Halloween, different Halloweens. And Pinhead. Pinhead doesn't get a lot of love. I know he's got a lot of sequels, and a lot of them weren't that good. But I think for the general theme or the concept of Pinhead and the Cenobites, I think that's a great way to kind of start off a horror franchise. Here we go, all the different Predators. Now, I didn't realize there were so many Predators. I guess I haven't been catching up on my Predator lore with all the different sequels that have come out. Apparently, there's different levels of Predators, so I got to catch up on that. The Thing, great horror movie. More Back to the Future, and coming on down there. Now, I want to show you, remember, in part 2, I told you this is an old movie theater. So you see the old concession stand where they do concessions. But then I kind of wandered in. They still have part of the old movie theater up. But what they do is that they have a stage and they do live music at night. And I just wandered in here. It's just really cool to see all the old wall paintings and all the Aztec sort of iconography kind of added in there. So really cool to see this and really want to show you, because at night the toy market shuts down. They do live music. You can come in, have some beers and have some snacks and just enjoy a good time with people. And that's part about being in Mexico City, is you get to see these kind of things. And I found this cat sort of just lying there, so I started petting him. And the little boy that's next to me, that I can't show on camera because he's a little boy, I don't want to show him on camera, told me, hey, you can pet the cat, but you got to be careful because the cat's got a mother, and the mother lives in there as well. So both cats live in there, and I guess the mother doesn't like it when people pet her son, so the mother will attack you. So I didn't want to be attacked by no angry mama cat, so I stopped petting that little baby cat and took another look around. You see all the cool iconography up there for the Aztecs, and then they even have a balcony which you can go up there during live music and have some beers and sit down. Wandered back out. These He-Man, they caught my eye, but I remembered it's part of the Revelations, and I know that cartoon didn't do too well. I didn't even bother watching it. It's still cool to see these figures, but I think if I was going to collect He-Man, I'd go more towards the traditional side of the old school 1980s. Some more Batman, lots of Batman. There's the Joker from Mortal Kombat. A lot of Mortal Kombat figures. Again, Mortal Kombat coming out again with another iteration. I'll have to download that on my PS5 and start playing with that. And then you see these prices are all in pesos. So I mean, some of these figures, 100 pesos. You're thinking, it's $5. So it's a pretty good deal when you start thinking of it in that terms. They just had a lot of different action figures for Master Universe, a lot of different iterations. Very cool to see. So we got some X-Men along with the rest of the Masters Universe in this booth. Spent some time in this booth. My wife was over talking to a local artist who's just there drawing, hoping to get his own comic book off the ground. Oh, and I had to stop here. Right there he is, Zartan. There's my favorite. Now, I didn't buy this particular figure. I planned on buying some other things later on, so I wanted to save my money. But Zartan, I'm always a sucker for Zartan. Almost as much as I am a sucker for Joker figures, Zartan to me is, again, my favorite G.I. Joe character. I know everybody else. If you got a favorite G.I. Joe character, drop it in the comments and let me know. But for me, Zartan, I remember getting the original action figure, how it glowed in the dark. I used to cut my hands over it, even in the sunlight, just to see him glow in the dark. So Zartan is special in my heart. Again, more of these Batmans. You'll see more Star Wars, more Black Series. Again, lots of Black Series everywhere. I turned around and I had to go back and see these. I've never seen, I love Jaws. I think Jaws is one of the greatest movies ever made. But there's Quint and Hooper, another version of Hooper. And in the original book, Hooper dies horribly, not like in the movie. So the movie is very different than the book. And the book is bloodier than the movie. So if you want a good read, check out Peter Benchley's Jaws, the original novel, and see that, and I think you'll get a good read out of that, and probably appreciate the movie and some of the changes and things they had to do to it to make that movie work will come into light. And it's always fun to really compare the movie and the book and how well the adaptation goes or how much they change. They definitely did change a lot. They cut out a lot of the gore from the book. Now, we made our way outside the paid section, which was that inside movie theater. I'm still going to keep the volume down here, but this booth, immediately walk out, it's just absolutely huge monsters. I just didn't even know where to begin with the camera. They let me film as much as I want, so I had to stop and just kind of show it, and just the level of sort of professionalism with how they're merchandising their stuff and putting their stuff out. There's some Back to the Future time machines for those Back to the Future fans. Really impressed. This gentleman, I had to stop all these retro video games, and you'll see his card. I mean, he's not a paid sponsor or anything like that, but he said, hey, yeah, you can film my booth. You want to show my card? So you'll see his information if you want to get him on, I think, either Instagram or Facebook, if there's something you see, or if you come down to Mexico City, you're looking to get into some retro gaming. Here it is. A lot of Super Nintendo stuff. I was really geeking out about this stuff. I love the original Nintendo Entertainment System. It was the first system that really spoke to me as a child. I mean, I had Atari, loved Atari, but definitely Nintendo really kicked it up a notch back then. Now, this really got my goose. The Goonies 2. There is no sequel to the movie, but the video game is the sequel, and may not be the greatest video game in the world, but I loved it. I loved it. You know, battling the Fratellis and the whole levels and everything, and all the different weapons you can get, the slingshot, the yo-yo. There's Legend of Zelda again. Hey, let me know if you think there's a better video game out there than Legend of Zelda. Please drop it in the comments and let me know. I think you're wrong, but let me know. So again, those two video games right there, that's absolute childhood. But then the icing on the cake, the Friday the 13th video game where Jason wasn't scary at all. Jason was purple. I guess in the new Friday the 13th, the online game, you can actually get a skin based off of his purple color in here. So, you know, you got Jason as violet and purple in that original game. Funny as all hell when you first saw him. Came back to this booth from, I believe it was part 1, but I had to see it again. Really wanted to check out their action figures and get some better footage of it. It's just amazing. Again, I don't know how long it takes them to set up these booths, but for me, if I had to go and set up all these action figures, it would take me hours. They must get there at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to start setting up. And they have some amazing figures here from all sorts of properties. You see from Batman to the Predator, you see Star Wars, there's Marvel. So there's something there for everyone. And again, loose figures, I know a lot of people just want the box figures, but some people love the loose figures, you know, so they can display them differently and properly. And all these were in really great condition. I really didn't see anything that I was like, well, that's too dirty or that's broken now. You might be missing an accessory here and there, but you know, you kind of comes with the territory when you're shopping for loose figures. But if you're really looking to complete a collection of loose figures, this market's got, there's Death Metal Joker or Death Metal Batman, whichever one I'm going to call him. That Joker or that Batman version is insane. And that's a great sculpting of him. But again, if you're looking to complete your collection, you know, when you're in Mexico City, you can do that. This booth, I could barely get into this booth, so I had to really zoom in on the footage. He had a lot of Transformers. You see Megatron there. You see Skywarp. This guy was selling hand over fist Transformers, these box Transformers, you know, some of them American, some of them Japanese, but this booth was so crowded, it was really difficult just to get any good footage just because I had to step so far away. I mean, I was getting bumped all over the place, but so again, a great booth to go check out. Another booth here, some different Japanese robots there, thought were interesting, but again, more Black Series. There's Dengar, Snoke, Lando, a couple versions of Luke, Greedo. Again, if you're looking to complete a Black Series, I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather go to get my Black Series cheap and be able to have this type of variety. Again, even so much more hanging up there. Wonderful time looking at that stuff. So again, Black Series, maybe that's another collection I start getting into. Oh, and here, I had to stop here because of all those other gold labels from part 2, I finally found a Batman gold label, Todd McFarlane, and this is one that's based on Nightfall, the Nightfall comic book where, of course, Bane broke the bat. And I believe I still have that comic book sitting at home in the United States somewhere. It's a great storyline, great iconic moment in Batman legend and lore. And then afterwards, you know, the market or the cafe that I showed you in part 1, we decided to come back around and sit there, and I figured I'd show you the menu. I gotta be honest with you, it was one of the most delicious burritos I've ever had. Delicious steak and cheese and rice and onions and lettuce. The salsa was great, not too spicy, but great. They had some good guacamole, and as you can see, they had all sorts of, you know, traditional Mexican food, and those prices are all in pesos, and so you're getting a ton of food for a really great value. Again, I'm not advertising for this place. I just want to let you know about the experience, but this is what you get, and you can really eat. We ended our day at the top of the Tower of Latin America, one of the tallest buildings in Mexico City, so we can take a look and show you the skyline. There's Mexico City. In a minute, I'm going to pan over to the left, and you're going to see Central Alameda, the park, and at the far end, that's where the toy market is. But if you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate it. Appreciate you watching. So thank you for taking the time. If you did like the video, please like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Drop a comment. But as always, I'm the Reluctant Gringo from south of the border. Salud and a huevo.